Hello, welcome. I'm in Blender, and today I'm going to take a quick look at adding a material and a texture to this object. So I'm going to select the cube, and anytime that I'm going to add a material, I will need to go into the Material tab right here, this sphere, and make sure that it is selected. And then we'll have the option to add a new material. Click on that. And here are a number of basic settings for a material. Now, the first thing that we want to take a look at is changing the color. And so I'll click on this, and we can select the color that we might want, and also the shade of it. And then once we have the color that we want, we can just click off, and there's the color that we've selected. And that material has been applied. Now, at this moment, we're not seeing the material because we are in the solid shading mode. And what we need to do is switch from this mode to material mode. And there is our material. Now, this is not fully rendered. So if we come down here and adjust, let's say we want to make this a little more metallic, I can just click in there and scrub that up a little bit and maybe bring the roughness down. You'll see that we are getting some look of metal in there. But what we need to do at this point, if we want to see it fully rendered out, we'll need to jump into rendered mode. And that is our next shading button up here. So I'll click on that. And this is going to take a moment to render because I am in Cycles render engine. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, rendering is done. And I do have a light in here, and there's the cube. And of course a floor with just the basic material on it. And so I'll just select off all of that and we can take a look at it. And to take a look at the Cycles render engine, what we'll need to do is jump in here, click on this camera icon right here, and by default, it starts out in Eevee. And so all we need to do is go into render engine right there and then select Cycles. And there's a few properties in here that we could work with, but for right now, I'm just going to go with the basics. If we want to go from CPU to GPU compute, might speed things up. The other is if we want to reduce the samples, I've reduced this just for this project down to 256 samples, but depending on how things look, you may need to increase that on up. And then the other thing is we want to click denoise. So with that, with denoise deselected, you'll see that we get some noise in the object there, and let me zoom in. We get some noise left, especially in the darker areas of the render. But if I click on denoise, it will clean that up, makes it look much better. All right, so we've added a material to this. Now I'm going to take a look at what if we want to add a texture to this. And so we have this material applied, but what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to jump into a different workspace. Up here at the top are all of the different workspaces that Blender has set up by default. And we need to jump into shading. So I'm going to click on shading and let me navigate this a little bit. And here is the node for our material. And so you can see where I set metallic to this 0.591 and roughness to this 0.114. All of those properties are the same as what we were looking at over here just a moment ago. Now to add a texture to this, it's a very simple keyboard shortcut. But to make sure that you have access to this keyboard shortcut, there's one thing that we need to do. We'll need to go up into Edit, right up here, and then go to Preferences, and we're going to need to look at our add-ons. Click on the add-ons, and mine is already selected, but what I'm going to look for is the Node Wrangler. And so I'm just going to type in Node right here, and you'll see that I have the Node Wrangler selected. If yours is not selected, go ahead and click that on. And then just jump down here, click on this icon, and say Save Preferences, and then we can close that out. So after we've added the Node Wrangler, what we'll need to do is make sure, first of all, we select this node right here, the principled BSDF. Make sure that it is selected, and then we're going to use the keyboard shortcut Command-Shift-T, and it's going to open up our navigation, and I'm going to move to my Blender materials here, And I have this wood table right here, and I'm going to select textures and open that up. And we have our 3 textures that's going to make up this texture. And so we have the diffuse, which is the main look, the main color of the texture. Then the normal, which is going to add some bumpiness to our texture. And then our roughness, which is going to catch some specular highlights and things like that for lighting. So we're going to select all 3 of those. And then we will click on Principled Texture selection there. And now you'll see that that texture has been applied. And we have several more nodes that have been added to this material. And let me just navigate around. Let me open this up a little bit so you can see it better. And these 3 nodes here represent, again, the diffuse, the roughness, and the normal. And then the mapping over here helps us, if we need to adjust the mapping of this a little bit, we can do that. If we feel like it's not the right size, or we want to rotate it. So if I want to rotate it, you can see that I can move that around. If I want to increase the size of it, the scale on each of those. And so those options are there to help us fit the texture to the object. And so once we've added those and we get this looking the way we want, which is just being applied to this basic cube, so I'm not too concerned about it, I'm going to jump back into our layout mode to take a look at this, and there is our cube. So those are 2 quick and easy ways to add material and texture to your objects.